On today's show, I'm bringing back a returning guest, and I'll tell you what, I am super giddy to have him back on the show. February was the last time he was on the show. We're talking about SNWV Health, Inc. If you haven't heard about this company, go look them up on the OTCQB. You can find them under the ticker symbol SNWV. My personal opinion, they're grossly undervalued here, under 17 cents a share. With a market cap around $33 million. With us today is the CEO and chairman of the company. We're very lucky to have him because this guy travels around 500,000 miles a year all around the world telling people about his products. With us today is Mr. Kevin Richardson. Kevin, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Everett. Glad to be here.
Finally, we're getting to where I know that you've been trying so hard to get revenues-wise. You made a bold statement. You gave guidance of $1 million for the fourth quarter. One, have you ever done $1 million in a quarter? Two, is it sustainable, and how will we get there?
Great. Thanks, Everett. No, we've never gotten to $1 million in a quarter as a public company. And so this will be the first quarter we get to $1 million. It'll be a nice mix of international exclusivity fees. It'll be a mix of international shipments of our device, the dermaPACE system. And also, for the first quarter, we'll be recognizing procedural revenue, which is the key to our growth going forward, where we collect revenue every time the device is used in the U.S. So we've turned it into a razor blade model, and it's a per procedure model. The fourth quarter will be the first quarter that we'll begin to recognize that revenue since we began our rollout of the dermaPACE device in the U.S.
You know, that model is such a great model. One other company that comes to mind is Shuffle Master. I know that has nothing to do with your company, but they lease out their dealing machines, if you will, their poker machines to all the casinos, and every month they get an ongoing residual for the entirety of that machine being there. So I'm glad to hear that you guys are not going to just sell and do a one and done. Is that correct?
That's 100% correct in the Shuffle Masters of the world, and there was a company years ago called Embrex that got paid on a penny per egg that they inoculated for chickens way back when. I mean, there's some great predecessor models that are out there, and that's really how we tried to follow is taking great examples of companies that had fantastic returns on capital with the similarity between all those companies is that they had very strong intellectual property portfolios so they could protect their position within the marketplace. And we have 84 patents, so we know we're very strongly positioned and are the only game in town for this type of treatment of diabetic foot ulcers.
Well, let's talk about your flagship product, the dermaPACE. How many wounds are you guys going to heal? How does that look like for 220, especially if Amethyst on board going to 400 by the end of 220? And what are the economics in this device? One, what's the price point, and where do we go from here?
A lot of questions in there, so I'll back it up. We began the year with 0 devices in place in the U.S. We had gotten our reimbursement codes effective January 1st, 2019. We stated our goal at the beginning of the year to get to 100 devices by the end of the year in the U.S., and we'll do 110 plus. And then recently on our third quarter conference call, we announced that we signed an agreement with Amethyst, who will help us distribute our product in the west of the Mississippi for 2020. We also announced that we'd get to 400 devices in place by the end of 2020. The way the treatment works, a patient comes in, their wound is cleaned, they then treat it with dermaPACE, they wrap the wound and send them home, and usually they come in for about 8 treatments once a week. We get $200 every time it's treated, and so every time they treat it, we get $200. It's a very effective business model. Each device we're anticipating should generate $50,000 to $100,000 per site. So whenever we talk about a placement, that should generate $50,000 to $100,000. Wow. And the benefit here is we're not just helping the wounds heal faster, which we are, and we've shown statistically and proved that out with 2 peer-reviewed articles and lots of case studies and the FDA kind of clearance. But it's also we're saving the system lots of money. We're much more cost-effective than hyperbaric chamber treatment and negative pressure wound therapy, which are the 2 advanced treatment modalities that are popular today. So we're gonna save the system money and at the same time heal even faster and better than the existing technologies that are out there. It's a win-win for everyone.
My guest today is Kevin Richardson. He's the CEO and chairman of SANUWAVE Health, Inc. Look him up on the OTCQB under the ticker symbol SNWV. Again, my personal opinion, very undervalued here at 17 cents. Kevin, let me ask you this. Internationally, especially Brazil, what's going on there?
We just signed an agreement with a group out of Brazil. They're executives that came from senior places, Convatec, Bristol Myers, Pfizer. These are some top dogs in Brazil. Brazil has really turned around a lot since their recent political changes occurred last year. We've seen a dramatic kind of resurgence in that as an economy. They pay us an exclusivity fee up front, which we'll recognize in the fourth quarter. That'll be $500,000 is recognized in the fourth quarter. We'll work with them to get an approval through their Anvisa processes, which is the Brazilian FDA, and then we'll begin the same type of model we have in the U.S. So we'll get a per-treatment fee, and we split the profits with our partner 50-50. So they'll do all the groundwork, the legwork in country, and then we'll share in the profitability going forward. It's one of the top 5 markets in the world for wound care, and we're going to be the dominant player in a few years. So it's very exciting in Brazil. We have a great team in place. Just super partners down there.
Kevin, before I let you go, what is it that you want your stockholders and my listeners to take away from the interview today?
So we've established goals of getting to $100 million in revenue and 2,000 placements within 3 years. And what we try to do is balance that long-term goal of 3 years from now with short-term objectives which they can measure us by. And I think it's extremely important with anyone investing in any company that there's a balance between how do you hold the management accountable and with the long-term vision. And so what we try to do is make sure that they can measure us as we're going along. And so far, we're exceeding our expectations, we're exceeding our goals, and we plan to do the same thing next year so that we can get to that 100 million mark and faster than we originally anticipated. But that's how we think about how we operate and how we execute. It's about having that vision of having a device anywhere and everywhere a wound is treated, getting paid for it, and then laying out the execution plan for investors to measure us as we proceed.
As for my listeners, if you want to learn more about this company, go to their website, www.SANUWave.com. Kevin, I want to thank you for stopping by and coming on the show. You know, I'm a big fan of what you guys are doing out there, and I wish you nothing but the best.
Thanks, Everett. Appreciate it very much.